Yes. What we will see in today's class is one of your Nikita. ఏం చెప్పాము నిన్న క్లాస్లో?
డేటా మైనింగ్ మ్యామ్.
డేటా మైనింగ్ చెప్పామా?
4 టెక్నిక్స్ చెప్పారు మ్యామ్.
హోల్డ్ ఆన్. See, Nikita, unless I call you or ask you something, can't you switch on your video? Jaykumar? Naina Tej, who is this Tej?
Surya Teja ma'am. CS11.
ఏంటి సూర్య తేజ? I can't see you.
మ్యామ్
ఫ్యాన్ కి పెట్టి కూర్చున్నాం వీడియో.
సిగ్నల్ నెట్వర్క్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ మ్యామ్.
Network కాదు, your video is okay. I'm saying that I can't see you. I'm seeing your fan. I'm not going to tell class to your fan. I want to see you. Yes. Yes, what we will see today is we will see one very, very important algorithm for today's class. This is Apriori algorithm. APRIORI, Apriori algorithm, which is used to find the frequent pattern item sets or frequent item sets. Apriori algorithm used to find the frequent item sets, and this is with the data mining functionality frequent patterns. So we need to find the frequent patterns, but with this we will be finding the frequent item sets by forming association rules. And the technique we are using is Apriori algorithm. And this particular class needs the notes compulsory. What I tell you, have to do the problem today. You have to write down what I say, and then at the end we will go to the algorithm. First we will see how to solve the problem, and then we will go to the algorithm steps. All of you start writing your notes and do the problem what we are saying. What I am saying. So before we start, what I tell is we are going to find the frequent item sets with the Apriori algorithm, which comes under pattern mining, which is one of your data mining functionality. Are you here with me? Just raise your hands. Yes. So when we say that item sets, when we say the item sets, which means that some items we are purchasing, and we can consider that whenever we purchase we are involved in some transactions. So just Simple example, you are going to one shop and buying some items. So your purchase of items is one transaction, another purchase of items by another person is another transaction, and of course you can go again, that is not a problem. So once you pay the money and the number of items you purchase, that comes into one complete transaction. Now because these are the transactions and items, definitely we will be going to what type of database? Because these are the items and each items are purchased in one transaction, what is the type of the database we will be going?
Transactional, ma'am.
Adi, good, Reshma. It's a transactional database. నిన్ననే చెప్పాను. We will be having different databases, whichever involves the type of the transactions, that we call that as transactional database. Maheshwari, so we will consider one transactional database, simple one table in that, see the transactions, find out how many items are there in each transactions. Among all the items in the transactional table, what we are considering, at the end we will find out how many item sets are frequent. Now again, we are finding out item sets and which are frequent, we will see. So as based on the yesterday's class, frequent item sets are nothing but which are purchased frequently. And what is this frequency count is, we will give the frequency count. So if an item is purchased 3 times or if an item is purchased 5 times, I will give the frequency count. I want to analyze the items which are purchased minimum 5 times. So those items I will call it as frequent item sets. So that frequency number is one interestingness measure for me. So the interestingness measure is nothing but which I am interested in. So what is the count is, if I want to know about an item which is purchased more than 2 times, more than 3 times, then that is my interestingness measure, and on those items I call them as a frequent measures. Interestingness measures or the threshold values, nothing but both of them mean the same. Whichever values are equal to or greater than your threshold value, we call them as interestingness measures. Just another word for the threshold synonym, that's it. So what we will see, what we will go is, initially as I said, let me present you. One second. Can you see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Yes. This is association, mining frequent patterns, associations and correlations. Uh, there are some basic concepts which we can see, but this is what we have discussed yesterday, where we try to go some sort of transactions and purchasing something. where we try to find the relations between these things and find out which are frequent. So among these items, like one customer purchased these three, another customer purchased another four, some customer purchased these three. So among which, what we try to find is which items are purchased frequently together by the customers. And this is what we call that as market basket analysis. No need of much explanation. You can understand immediately. This is what the association rule we have seen yesterday. Support and confidence. we do go for once more the explanation of this support and confidence. So if you take this without any predicates, just by having the subjects here, whoever purchases the computer, they have purchased the antivirus software. So if you take a rule like this, an association rule like this, support is equal to 2% means here among all your transactions, if anyone purchases computer, they are purchasing software is 2% you require among among a support of means that all the transactions under analysis. So the support is equal to 2%. So we don't mind, like the left side you may get table, and right side you may get some tabletop items. Left side you may get bread, and this side you may get milk, and this side you may get jam, or this side you may get something else. So whatever the transactions are, the minimum among all the transactions, you should be, what you want to consider is for any of the transaction, they want the support is equal to 2%. So among all your transactions, this equation or this sort of relation between two subjects should be of 2%. That is what your support is. And confidence is, we like to see only the rules which are having the computer కొన్న వాళ్ళు, they can go for some software, they can go for some series, they can go for some audio systems, they can buy some computer table and so on. So in the మొత్తంలో only left hand side, if you want, if you have the computer among them, among all those who have purchased computer, if the right hand side is antivirus software, and if that percent is 60%, that we call that as confidence. So confidence is the one, 60% of the customers who purchased a computer have also purchased the software. That is what your confidence is. Did you get the difference? Just raise your hands. Support and confidence. Did you get the difference? Yes. Okay. Frequent item sets. For this class, you just stick with the frequent item sets. Whichever items are purchased frequently, we call them as frequent item sets, and we have to define what that frequency is. These are the rules which we have some formula for this. We will come back to this once we see what this algorithm is, and then we will come back. What is this confidence, and what is this support, what is this P conditional probability. This all we will get back after we see the algorithm. Even this closed frequent item set and maximal frequent item set with examples, we will come back. In this frequent item set mining, you have the a priori property and the joining rules. A priori property, this is the one, a priori algorithm finding frequent item sets. So you know what is frequent item sets. Closed maximal frequent item sets, we will come back. And to enter into this algorithm, we need to know the a priori property, that we will see, and then we will see the joining step and prune step. This notation also we will see with the example. After we see the example, we will come back. Before we see that, just one simple thing is, for the a priori property, if you have an if you have some item sets. Say I have some, in my item sets, I have the textbook, I have one pen, I have one purse, I have one pencil. So four items are there in my item set. One pen, pencil, one purse and one textbook. If I say this four item set is frequent. If I say this four item set is frequent, then the subsets of all these should also be frequent. So which means that your book is also frequent individually. If you take book and pen, that subset should also be frequent. Any of three item set combination, that also should be frequent. So which means that a priori property says that any of the subset of a frequent item set will also be frequent. Are you with me? Are you with me? Just raise your hands. Yes, yes, yes. Raise your hands if you are with me. I think Pravalika, I don't see roll numbers and names here. Okay. Yeah, Durga Prasanna. Durga Prasanna, Nalla Durga Prasad. I don't see your hands. Are you with me or not? And antene raise చేస్తున్నారు. Okay. So this is, yes, down your hands. This is very important property which we call that as a priori property. All subsets of a frequent item sets are frequent and should be frequent. Otherwise, you cannot call that complete n item set as a frequent. You cannot keep a frequent item, you cannot keep a book which is not purchased frequently into a frequent item set. So the rule here it says is all non-empty subsets of a frequent item set must also be frequent. Are you with me? Okay. Now the notation here is, if you say this uh, this property is also called as anti-monotonicity, which is that like any set supersets will fail if the subsets are not frequent. So the same property which is said in another way, that's it. So this is what your a priori property is. And joining step and prune step we will come back when we are doing this problem. For time being, just take this table. You need not go for T100 and on. You just take T1 transaction 1 and the list of items. In transaction 1, what are the list of items purchased? Just in 1 minute, take this table. Now, yes, completed. Now total we are having, how many unique items are there totally? How many items are
Five,
there?
ma'am.
Five.
Hi, ma'am.
Great. Okay. 5 items are there. Total how many transactions are there?
9, ma'am.
9.
9 transactions are there. Okay. Now we will start like two data structures we will see in this algorithm. those two data structures are tables only. One table we call as candidate item set, one table or one data structure, we call that as candidate item set. The other table we will see is frequent item set. One is candidate item set and the other one is frequent item set. And the minimum support we are considering is 2. Minimum support is equal to 2. The input minimum support is equal to 2, which means that we will consider any of the item at least if it is purchased 2 times. Minimum support is equal to 2. Minimum number of times it should be purchased is 2. Okay. Now with this 2 data structures and the minimum support, and I hope you have understood this. And D is nothing but the database we are considering here, and with an absolute value as 9 because it has 9 transactions. D in the sense actually it is a table. It's a table. Now instead of calling this as a transaction database, you can take this as a transactional table. Yes. So you understood this C, and C is the candidate item set, and L, which we refer that as the frequent item set. With this, until this now you are clear. Okay. Now we will see what is this candidate item set is. You scan your table for count of each candidate. So for the count of each candidate, your C1, it again consists of the item set and the support count. ఇక్కడ సపోర్ట్ కౌంట్ అనేది కౌంట్ చేసేయండి. టోటల్ 5 items are there. Because it is C1, you consider how many times your I1 has come. And again take I2, check among all the transactions how many times your I2 has come. And similarly I3, I4 and I5. Just take this item set, this item and support count, how many times it has come. Tell me the table in 1 minute. Give me the C1 table. That C1 I called it as, now I call that as C1 candidate item set. Your candidate item sets actually will have the subset. When you take 1, it indicates that they have the 1 item set. And besides that, take the item set count, not the frequency, I'm just saying frequent item set, this item set count. So I1 total transaction, how many times, I2 how many times, I3 and so on. Over?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We'll check. I1 ఎన్నిసార్లు వచ్చింది?
6 times, ma'am.
6 times, ma'am.
I2
7, ma'am.
I3
6 months.
times, ma'am.
okay, I4
2 times, ma'am.
2 times, ma'am.
I5
2 times.
2 times.
2 times.
okay, good. Okay, so this is what your C1 is. Just mute your systems. Mute your systems. This is the item set, and I have taken one item in this C1. Support count is this thing. Now from this C1 you will be obtaining frequent item set, and how you will update is, among this, if any item does not satisfy your frequency, so the frequency what we have given is the minimum support count. That minimum support count, what is the value I have taken is 2. Yeah, so whichever items are not satisfied, you can remove them from this. Because all the item sets here have satisfied minimum 2 are there, we will directly take them into frequent item set table. So this is the candidate item set table. This is the frequent item set. Because this is L1, you will have single item sets, and because all of them have supported here this minimum support, yes, you can write on top on this, instead of support count, you take this table to be as minimum support count satisfied. Minimum support count satisfied. On top of every L1 table, don't write as support count, minimum support count satisfied. So did you write?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. L1 complete చేయండి. So did you understand how we got that C1, L1 has come from C1. L1 has come from C1. Now, we will get C2 from L1. మళ్ళీ C2 అనేది L1 నుంచి ఎలా వస్తుంది అని అంటే, you have to join your L1 with itself. You have to join your L1 with itself to get C2. అంటే each item, because now I want to find, by having this L1 you have got one item set frequency, one item set. నాకేంటంటే 5 ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ ఉన్నాయి. ఆ 5 ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ లో ఎన్ని ఫ్రీక్వెన్సీ, 1 ఐటమ్ సెట్ ఉండొచ్చు, 2 ఐటమ్ సెట్ ఫ్రీక్వెన్సీ ఉండొచ్చు, 3 ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ ఫ్రీక్వెన్సీ ఉండొచ్చు, అండ్ అట్ ద ఎండ్ 5 ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ ఫ్రీక్వెన్సీ ఉండొచ్చు నాకు. So 1 item set frequency we have obtained, L1, leave it. Now I want to find out 2 item set frequency. So to get 2 item set, you should combine the frequency of your previous frequent item set table with itself. దాన్ని దాంతోనే కంబైన్ చేయండి. Simply nothing but the cross product. The cross product or the join step you call. So what is this join step is, now you combine I1 with I2, I1 with I3, I1 with I4, I1 with I5. Now again, we have to go I2 with I1 because this is the join step. We are not taking the symmetry. So because I1, I2 is already there, leave I2 and I1 and now go to I2, I3, I2, I4, I2, I5. Similarly, generate all the candidate item sets by joining your L1 with L1. Leave some, draw another column beside that C2. Draw another column beside that C2 for to count your support count. Support count ఎన్నిసార్లు ఉందో రావడానికి just ఇక్కడ ఒక కాలం వదిలిపెట్టండి. Now total how many items, 2 item sets have come? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. 10 2 item sets frequency are there. Now check your 2 item sets with this C2 table. Check your 2 item set with your C2 table. All of you, did you get the same? Your I1 with all I2, I3, I4, I5, your I2 with I3, I4, I5, your I3 with I4, I5, and your I4 with I5. Over? Aipinda?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now go back to your transactional table. Go back to your transactional table. Find out this I1 and I2, how many times it has come, and write in your support count. Now if I take I1, I2, this is one time, I1, I2 second time, I1, I2 third time, I1, I2 fourth time. So your support count for I1, I2 is 4. Now similarly find for all the subsets how many times they have come in this transactional table. Over. Shall we check?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I1, I2, how many times?
4 times.
4
Four
times.
times.
I1, I3,
Four.
4 times.
4 times, ma'am.
I1, I3 ఎన్నిసార్లు?
4
Four.
times.
Times.
4 times.
4 times. I1, I4,
1
One.
time.
Times.
1 time.
yes. I1, I5,
5.
2 times.
2 times.
Ma'am.
okay. So yes. And similarly I2, I3, check with this table.
4, ma'am.
Mute your system, mute your systems. Yes. So is this table, whatever you got, compare that with this table, did you get this same count?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If you get
Yes,
the
ma'am.
same count, okay, if you get the same count, now if you can see here, the support count, some of them are having as 1. I1, I4, I3, I4, I3, I5, I4, I5, they are having the support count less than 2. Now drop them, leave them, which you call them as cut them. Cutting is nothing but prune step, the pruning. Prune it and then bring them into, now again L2 on top of it, right? Frequent item support count, which is equal to 2. Frequent item support count is equal to 2. Now you carry the item sets which are only frequent, which are supporting the minimum count. So leave 1 1 0 zeros and then bring this one. So we have obtained L2 from C2. We have obtained C2 from L1. Now we need to get C3 from L2. So to get C3, what we have to do? To get C3, what we have to do?
Combine.
Again, join
Join itself.
Yes. Now, what we will see, join step and extension here, which we did not consider. Now you will get a clarity here. What is the extension of the join step? You have to join your L2 with itself. You will be joining your L2 with itself. Now, what is that we have to see very particular is two things you have to keep in your mind here. Now, when I'm joining, see the first equation here. When I'm joining I1 comma I2 with I1 comma I3, I have to join I1 comma I2 with I1 comma I3. So I should be getting, because 2 and 2, I should get 3 item sets. Here I have 2 item sets, joining with 2 item sets, I should get 3 item sets. Now, what is the rule I have to check here is, first thing, when you take these two, I1 comma I2, until your last but one items, until your last but one items. So because we are having only two, the first items should be equal. ఈ రెండు ఈక్వల్ అవ్వాలి. And second thing is, your first item, last item should be less than the second item in the second item set. Are you able to understand? Mali repeat
Yes.
chestan. I will repeat again. Your last but one items should be equal in these two item sets. That is first thing. And the second thing is, in these two item sets, your first item set, last item should be less than the last item in the second item set. అర్థమైందా? అలా ఉంటేనే కంబైన్ చేసి, then what you will find out, what you will get is, because this I1 is common, you take only one I1 and I2 is less than your I3. So keep your I2 and I3. Adavaina? So what equation you will get is I1, I2 and I3. And another thing, another major important thing is when you take this I1, I2, I3, all these subsets should be in your frequent item sets. అంటే I1 subset తీసుకుంటే this is the one, it should be in L1. I2, yes, it is there. I3, it is there. Now you take the two item sets. So take the two item sets here, I1, I2, I1, I3, I1, I3, and I2, I3. All these subsets should be in your L2 also. ఇలా ఉంటేనే now you take it into the three item sets. Now I again repeat, the first thing to get three item sets out of L2 is if you take two item sets, your last but one items should be equal and your last item should be less than the last item of the second one. First thing, that is one thing. And if that is satisfied, you will get a three item set having the sorted order of I1, the last item this one, and the last item of the second item set. Because all are common for the previous ones, you need not take the two times. I1 only one time you can take. See the second example, second thing we will see now here. If you take, if you're combining I1, I2 with I1, I5. If you're combining I1, I2 with I1, I5. Now, I1 is common in this two, very good. And I2, yes, is less than I5, that is also good. Less than in the sense, I2 will come first in the sequence than I5. అంటే మీరు కొనే ఐటమ్స్లో ఫస్ట్ I2 కొన్నారు అని అనుకోండి, which we are taking that to be as less than. But in sequence, but in general, we consider that to be in sequence actually. I2 కొన్న తర్వాత వాడు I5కి వెళ్ళాడు అనే సీక్వెన్స్ మనం అజ్యూమ్ చేసుకుంటాం. Okay, now in this two, I1, I2 and I1, I5, if you take, which is true where we can go like I1, I2 and I5 as I2 is less than I5. Now if you take the subsets of this, though I1, I2, I5 are in L1, now in L2, find out whether you are having I1, I5. I1, I5 అనేది ఉందా? Wait.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I1, I5 is there. And do you have I2, I5? Yes. ఇది కూడా ఉంది. I1, I5 is there and I2, I5 is also there.
Yes.
So you can take this I1, I2, I5 into this. So the second mapping joining also you can take. Now combine your I1, I2 with I2, I3. Join your I1, I2 with I2, I3. Can we join this? Can we join this? I1,
No, ma'am.
Why? Why? I1, I2 with I2,
I2, I3. I2, I3 is not there.
It is there.
That's fine.
Why I cannot join?
Last item, last but one item is not equal.
Not same.
గుడ్. సో ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే మొదటికే మోసం వచ్చేసింది ఏంటంటే యువర్ I1 is not equal to I2 here. I1 is not the same. So we are completely pruning this joining. అంటే ఈ జాయిన్ ని కట్ చేసేస్తున్నాం. We are not keeping into the three item set. Now ఇంకా రిమైనింగ్ ఇవన్నీ కూడా we cannot combine that with I2 because ఇక్కడ I2 వచ్చేసింది కాబట్టి we are not considering. Now
Can you please repeat that?
I will. You can do one thing, you start writing this actually. Combine this I1, I2, your cross step I1, I3. The rule, first rule ఏంటి అని అంటే, see, two rules I have to follow in the join. First rule ఏంటి అని అంటే, until this last items, the remaining items should be equal. The last items, one should be less than the other. The first item should be less than the other. ఇక్కడ వరకు అర్థమైందా?
Yes, ma'am.
ఓకే. ఇక్కడే if you are applying that step here, that rule here, your I1 is not equal to I2 ikkada. What I said, if you want to join the first, last, but and ఈ items equal అవ్వాలి. ఇక్కడ I1 ఉంటే then I can consider this I3. ఇక్కడ I2 ఉండిపోయింది. So I1, when you are joining with this, your I1 is not equal to I2. So you cannot join these two. అర్థమైందా?
Yes, ma'am.
ఓకే. మిగిలిన అందరికీ అర్థమైందా? Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Okay. Now, so similarly, your I1, I2 cannot combine with I2, I4. I1, I2 cannot combine with I2, I5. ఇక్కడ వరకు అర్థమైంది కదా? Now again consider the second equation and you try to combine this. So second equation combine cheste I1, I3, I1, I5. Now see whether we can combine these two, second and the third item sets. So I1 is equal to I1, yes. I3 is less than I5, yes. So definitely we should get after joining we should get I1, I3, I5. But the second rule for joining is see the subsets. Now in this subsets, yes, in this subsets, I1, I3, I5, yes, they are in L1. Now check the subsets, two subsets, they are there in the L2. Now the two subsets here, I1, I3 is there, that is good. Now find out whether I1, I5 is there.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I1, I5 is there. Now find out I3, I5 is there.
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, so one of the subsets are not in the frequent item sets. Even if one of the subsets are not there in the frequent item sets, you are not going to consider that complete set to join. అర్థమైందా? ఇక్కడ
Yes, ma'am.
ఇక్కడ I3, I5 మనకి లేదు కాబట్టి we cannot keep that I1, I3, I5 in C3. Okay. Now, check this I1, I3 with I2, I3. Obviously, you cannot join, right? Join చేయలేరు because the first one itself is differing from the first item. So, ఇవన్నీ కూడా join చేయలేరు. Now, if you take the third, if you take the fourth, fifth, sixth item sets, you cannot join because I1 differs with all this I2. Are you with me? అర్థమైందా?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we will go to just see the C3 here. Now we will go to the join actual notation. ఇక్కడ మీరు C2 చేసేప్పుడు కూడా ఏంటంటే the same thing here you will see. ఇక్కడ because we have all the frequency, all the item subsets frequency, మనకి ఏంటి అని అంటే అన్ని ఐటమ్స్ ఫ్రీక్వెన్సీ ఉన్నాయి కాబట్టి we have just keep this one here. అంటే when you are combining one single item sets, అంటే I1, I2 చేసేప్పుడు I1 is there, I2 is there in L1, we have kept this I1, I2. I1, I3 తీసుకునేప్పుడు I1 and I3 ఆల్రెడీ ఇక్కడ L1 లో ఉంది కాబట్టి I1, I3 we have kept. So similarly we have kept individual items frequency check ఆల్రెడీ ఇక్కడ ఉన్నాయి కాబట్టి సింపుల్ గా మనకి ఇక్కడ వచ్చేసినాయి. ఓకే, ఇక్కడికి వచ్చి మనకు the same rule we have applied here also. ఇక్కడ మీకు క్లారిటీ వస్తుంది. Now we will go to the join step here. Now we will see the actual join step. ఇప్పుడు ఈ నోటేషన్ చూడండి. Now you understand what is L. What is L means that is your frequent item sets. K is the set of item sets. If you say L1, that is one frequent item set. If you say L2, that is two frequent item set. Are you clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now, it has come from ఎక్కడి నుంచి L2 వచ్చింది అని అంటే it has come from CK. ఇక్కడ CK నుంచి మీకు LK వచ్చింది. How did you get CK? CK ఎక్కడి నుంచి వచ్చింది? If you want C2, two items
To
at a
join
Join the
Join your L1.
LK
L1
itself.
itself.
join your
LK itself.
LK with
minus 1.
itself.
joining your
LK
LK minus
with
1
yes.
itself.
LK
LK
minus.
Who said LK minus 1? Good. Sindhu and I heard one voice sound.
Citation.
Good citation. Good. So you are getting CK by joining LK minus 1 with itself. Okay. LK you have obtained from where? LK ఎక్కడి నుండి వచ్చింది?
CK.
CK, ma'am.
TK ma'am.
CK నుంచి వచ్చింది by considering the frequent item set count. You have obtained CK from LK minus 1 joining LK minus 1. ఇక్కడ వరకు అర్థమైందా? Okay.
Yes.
Now in your LK minus 1, let your small L1 and L2 be the item sets. మీ L1 and L2 item sets అని అనుకోండి LK minus 1లో. Okay. Now Li of J refers to the jth item in Li. అంటే ఫస్ట్ ఐటమ్ సెట్. సపోజ్ నేను I is equal to 1 అనుకున్నానంటే ఫస్ట్ ఐటమ్ సెట్, I is equal to 2 అనుకున్నానంటే సెకండ్ ఐటమ్ సెట్. J refers to the jth item. So first item, second item, third item and so on. Now when you are going like this, ఇలా వెళ్తున్నప్పుడు ఏంటి అని అంటే here we are having series LK minus 1 I am considering. LK minus 1. ఇది జాయిన్ చేసేప్పుడు when I am joining this with itself, యాక్చువల్లీ ఏంటి అని అంటే దిస్ ఐఎమ్ ట్రైంగ్ టు గివ్ మై CK అని ఇవ్వబోతున్నాను. సో CKని ఇచ్చేప్పుడు ఏంటంటే నా సే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఐఎమ్ గోయింగ్ టు గెట్ C10. నాకు C10 కావాలి. సో నేను L9 ఐ హ్యావ్ టు జాయిన్ విత్ L9. యూ రైట్ ఇన్ యువర్ నోట్స్లో ఇక్కడ రాయండి. ఫర్ ఎన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ C10 ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్ టు L9 జాయిన్ L9. C10 is equal to L9 joining your L9. Now what is the rule ఇక్కడ ఏంటి అని అంటే I want K minus 2 items should be in common. అంటే L9 అంటే ఆల్రెడీ 9 ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ అవి. ఆ 9 ఐటమ్ సెట్స్లో నాకు ఏది కామన్గా ఉండాలి అని అంటే K minus 2 ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ వరకు కామన్గా ఉండాలి. అంటే ఏంటి? 8 items వరకు కామన్ గా ఉండాలి. ఇఫ్ యూ టేక్ C10, my K is equal to 2, my K is equal to 10 there, your LK minus 1 is nothing but 9. So among that 9 item sets, which items should be common means up to K minus 2 items. The first K minus 2 items should be in common in my L1 and L2. ఆ రెండిటిలో కూడా 8 item sets కామన్ గా ఉండాలి. Now see this notation here. L1 of 1 should be equal to L2 of 1 and L1 of 2 should be equal to L2 of 2 and so on. మరి లాస్ట్ ఐటమ్ ఏం అవ్వాలి? సో లాస్ట్ ఐటమ్ అంటే ఏంటి? దట్ ఈస్ ద 9th ఐటమ్. సో 9th ఐటమ్ ఏంటి అని అంటే L1 of K minus 1 should be less than the second item set of your K minus 1. Are you with me? Are you with me? Raise your hands. ఇప్పుడు ఇందాక మనం చేసింది అదే. C3 రావడానికి L2ని జాయిన్ చేసేప్పుడు బికాస్ ఇట్ ఇస్ L2 ఫస్ట్ ఐటమ్స్ అన్ని కామన్ గా ఉండాలి. ఇఫ్ యూ టేక్ ఎనీ 2 ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ అందులో ఫస్ట్ ఐటమ్స్ కామన్ గా ఉండి లాస్ట్ ఐటమ్ ఏంటి అని అంటే 1 షుడ్ బి లెస్ దెన్ ద అదర్. ద ఫస్ట్ ఐటమ్ సెట్ లాస్ట్ ఐటమ్ షుడ్ బి లెస్ దెన్ ద లాస్ట్ ఐటమ్ ఆఫ్ ద సెకండ్ ఐటమ్ సెట్. అర్థమైందా?
Yes, ma'am.
అర్థమైందా? ఇప్పుడు మీ నోట్స్లో ఏం రాస్తారు అని అంటే C10 is equal to L9 join L9 అని రాసి what you do is small L1 is equal to small L1 is equal to first item set of capital L9, first item set of frequent item set of capital L9. అక్కడ ఆ క్యాపిటల్ ఎల్లో 1 2 3 I1 I2 I3 అప్ టు I9 వరకే ఇవ్వండి. ఓకే, నా అంటే అక్కడ వరుసగా I1 I2 I3 ఉండాలని రూల్ లేదు. 9 ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ అయితే ఉండాలి. ఆ 1 2 3 4 అనేది it's our choice. Now small L2 is equal to now again 9 item sets I1 I2 I3 I4 up to I9, 9 item sets కావాలి. Now you should be getting in C3లో మీకు ఏంటి అని అంటే ఇప్పుడు 9 and 9 కంబైన్ చేస్తున్నారు కాబట్టి 10 ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ రావాలి. అంటే 10 ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ ఎట్లాగా, ఫస్ట్ 8 ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ కామన్గా ఉండాలి. సో 8 ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ L1 L2లో కామన్గా ఉండేప్పుడు బికాస్ దే ఆర్ కామన్ యూ టేక్ ఓన్లీ 1 into CK. సో I1 ఇక్కడ కామన్గా ఉంటే CKలోకి I1 వచ్చేస్తుంది, C10లోకి. I2 కామన్గా ఉంటే నవ్ అగైన్ ఇక్కడ C2లోకి I2 వచ్చేస్తుంది. మధ్యలో ఎక్కడన్నా L1లో C3 ఉండి L2లో I4 ఉంది అని అంటే, L1లో I3 ఉండి L2లో I4 ఉంది అని అంటే అక్కడ మీకు తప్పింది, అంటే కామన్గా లేదు. పైన I3 ఉంది, కింద I4 వచ్చేసింది కాబట్టి యూ కెనాట్ కన్సిడర్, యూ కెనాట్ జాయిన్ దట్. సో ఎప్పుడు జాయిన్ చేస్తారు అని అంటే ఆల్మోస్ట్ లాస్ట్ బట్ 1 ఐటెం వరకు రెండిట్లో కామన్గా ఉండాలి. సో ఆ కామన్గా ఉన్న ఐటమ్స్ అన్ని Cలో పెట్టేసి లాస్ట్ 2 ఐటమ్స్ ఏం పెడతారంటే ద ఫస్ట్ వన్ లాస్ట్ ఐటమ్ అండ్ ద సెకండ్ వన్ లాస్ట్ ఐటమ్ ఇఫ్ వన్ ఈజ్ లెస్ దెన్ ద అదర్. అర్థమైందా? అర్థం అవుతుందా? Now see the join step again. Now this is what here. That is the member cell in L1 ఇక్కడ వరకు రావాలి. L1 of 1 should be equal to this, L1 of 2 should be equal to L2 of 2 and so on up to K-2. అంటే 8th ఐటమ్ వరకు కామన్గా ఉండి లాస్ట్ 9th ఐటమ్ ఏమవ్వాలి ఇన్ L2 on the next transaction, in that is it should be less than that one. అంటే L2లోనే ముందర ఒక ఫ్రీక్వెంట్ ఐటమ్ సెట్, తర్వాత ఒక ఫ్రీక్వెంట్ ఐటమ్ సెట్ ఉంటే అన్ని కామన్గా మ్యాచ్ అవ్వాలి. లాస్ట్ది రెండు మటుకు ఆ రెండు డిఫర్ అయ్యి వన్ షుడ్ బి లెస్ దాన్ ద అదర్. దిస్ ఇస్ వాట్ దిస్ అంటే ఇప్పుడు I1, I2, I1, I3 కంబైన్ చేసేప్పుడు ఈ ముందు కామన్గా ఉంది I2 షుడ్ బి లెస్ దెన్ I3, దెన్ యూ కంబైన్ I1, I2 అండ్ I3. Are you with me? Yes. This is what is called as join step. దాన్ని join step అంటాం. Apriori algorithm రాసేప్పుడు 2 important points you have to write is join step and the prune step. Before these 2 steps you have to write apriori property. Apriori property తర్వాత join step and prune step with the notation. ఇప్పుడు నోటేషన్స్ క్లియర్గా అర్థమైనా? వాట్ ఈస్ క్యాపిటల్ C, what is capital C subset of K, what is capital L subset of L, how you will be obtaining CK, how you will be obtaining LK, what is small L1 and again the bracket of it. Did you understand all this notation? Yes. Now we'll see what is the prune step. ఏం లేదు, ప్రూన్ స్టెప్ వీ హ్యావ్ కట్ డౌన్. ఏమేమైతే ఫ్రీక్వెంట్గా లేవో ఆ ఫ్రీక్వెంట్గా లేనివన్నీ కట్ చేసాము. అండ్ విచ్ ఎవర్ ఈస్ నాట్ సాటిస్ఫైయింగ్ ద జాయింట్ స్టెప్, దట్ ఆల్సో వీ హ్యావ్ కట్. So that is what your CK is. That's what your prune step is. So in that prune step, uh, one thing we have cut down is whichever is not satisfying the minimum support count. Count no less than the minimum support count లేనివి we did not bring that into this L3. So now you take the support count here in this I1 I2 I3 combined గా ఇక్కడ ఎన్నిసార్లు ఉందో చూడండి. I1 I2 I3 except in this T8 and T9 I1 I2 I3 కామన్ గా ఇంకెక్కడ లేదు. సో 2 times is your support count. And I1 I2 I5 I1 I2 I5 in T1 and T8. T1 and T8 లోనే I1 I2 I5 ఉంది. That also for 2 times. So the support count రెండు satisfy అవుతున్నాయి కాబట్టి then you bring them into L3. సో ఏమైతే ఇక్కడ కట్ చేసేసారో that is what your prune step. So in the prune step you did not bring them into the frequent item set. We have cut down the item sets which are not frequent. ఇక్కడ కూడా ఏంటి అంటే దీస్ టూ ఐటమ్స్ ఆర్ ఫ్రీక్వెంట్ కాబట్టి వీ హ్యావ్ గాన్ ఫర్ L3. నౌ యూ గో ఫర్ అనదర్. దాంట్లోని ఇప్పుడు ఇది నోట్ చేసుకున్నారా? ఈ టేబుల్స్ నోట్ చేయండి. I hope you understood before you take down in your notes. Yes. Now go for C4. You have obtained L3. Now you construct your C4. C4 కి ఎట్లా వెళ్తారు? Join your L3 with itself. Join your L3 with itself, which means you are having only these two item sets. Now you I1 I2 I3 cross I2 I1 I2 I5. Now ఇందులో వెళ్ళేప్పుడు obviously your I1 and I1 is equal to I1, I2 is equal to I2, I3 is less than I5. Pretty sure, very good that you can join this I1, I2, I3, I5. Now see the subsets. Now
I3
see,
and I5.
yeah, if you see the subsets, your I3, I5 is not there in L2. That is one thing. Your I2, I3, I5 is not there in L2. So you cannot have the C4. ఇంకా C4 అనేది రావటానికి లేదు because the subsets are not there in the previous frequent item sets. So you are going to stop here. అంటే finally what are the frequent item sets ఏంటి అని అంటే 3 frequent item sets we have obtained with the support of 2 I1 I2 I3 and I1 I2 I5. ఈ ట్రాన్సాక్షనల్ డేటాబేస్ మొత్తంలో మాక్సిమం ఏంటి అని అంటే 3 ఫ్రీక్వెంట్ ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ ఉన్నాయి. ఆ 3 ఫ్రీక్వెంట్ ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ ఏంటి అని అంటే మాక్సిమం. మినిమం అంటే I1 I2 I5 ఫ్రీక్వెంట్గా I1 I2 I3 ఫ్రీక్వెంట్గా పర్చేస్ చేశాము. I1 I2 I2 I3 I1 I3 I1 I5 I2 I5 all the subsets are frequent. And these are the things maximum this I1 I2 I3 and I1 I2 I5 are frequently purchased. Now once we got this one, ఇది వచ్చిన తర్వాత you should find the relation between them. You should get the association rules between this. వీటి నుంచి అసోసియేషన్ రూల్స్ రావాలి అని అంటే హియర్ ఎలా వస్తుంది? దిస్ ఇస్ వాట్ యువర్ association rule you should be getting. Do you have class at 11? 11 ki class unna?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, then we will draw the association rules. Frequent item sets వచ్చేసి ఇప్పుడు అసోసియేషన్ రూల్స్ ఏంటి అని అంటే I1 I2 కొన్న వాళ్ళు I5 కొన్నారా, లేదంటే I1 ఒక్కటే కొన్న వాళ్ళు I5 కొన్నారా, లేదంటే I1 కొన్న వాళ్ళు కంపల్సరీగా I2 అండ్ I5 కొన్నారా. So like this we need to find the relation between these items and you have to give the implications. So implications is I1 implies I2 and I5 at the I2 comma I5 implies something else. అదేమైనా ఇంకేమైనా I1 కొన్నారా. So this sort of implications you have to find out. So దీంట్లో ఏంటి అని అంటే algorithm we will see. Shall we see the algorithm we will see tomorrow's class. This will take more than half an hour algorithm. This one will go very fast. If you have this confidence, as I said, like we are implying like A implies B. Leave this formula, we'll get back to this formula back again. Now if you take this frequent item set L, generate all non and empty subsets of L. So okay, L from this L, which is I1 I2 I5 or I1 I2 I3, ఇది L అనుకుంటే ఇందులో సబ్సెట్స్ ఒక S వచ్చేసి I1, ఇంకొక S వచ్చేసి I2, this ఇంకొక S I3, another S is I1 comma I2, another S is I1 comma I3, another S is I2 comma I2 comma I3. So your S will all be the subsets of your L. S and L notation అర్థమైందా? S and L notation. I1, now you take I1, I2, I5, write there. మీరు రాయండి. S are the subsets of your L. So S వచ్చేసి మీకు ఏమేమి ఉంటాయి ఇప్పుడు? S వచ్చేసి ఏమేమి ఉంటాయంటే all your I1 comma I2 comma I5 అది ఒక S and again the subsets I1 comma I2, I1 comma I5 and I2 comma I5 all are S. అన్ని S. S is equal to this. So total S ఎన్ని వచ్చినాయి అని అంటే 1 2 3 4 5 6 ఇవన్నీ నాన్ ఎంప్టీ సబ్సెట్స్, ఇవన్నీ మీకు ఎస్. ఇది అర్థమైందా ఎస్ ఎలా వచ్చింది అనేది?
Yes, ma'am.
ఓకే. నౌ ఇప్పుడు నో యూ డిరైవ్ ద రిలేషన్స్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ ఫార్మ్. ఈ ఫార్మ్లో రిలేషన్ ఫార్మ్ చేయండి. ఎస్ ఇంప్లైస్ ఎల్ మైనస్ ఎస్ అంటే ఇఫ్ యూ టేక్ I1 as one subset, your L minus S అంటే ఈ లాస్ట్ 3 చూడండి. మీ ఎస్ కనుక I1 అయితే ఒక సబ్సెట్ అయితే రైట్ హ్యాండ్ సైడ్ ఇంప్లైస్ ఏంటి అని అంటే బికాస్ యువర్ క్యాపిటల్ L is I1 I2 I5, ద రైట్ సైడ్ యూ విల్ బి గెటింగ్ ఇస్ L మైనస్ ఎస్. సో ఇంకా ఎల్లో నుంచి ఎస్ తీసేస్తే మిగిలింది ఏంటి అని అంటే I2 comma I5. Similarly for the remaining these things. And if you take the another subset as I1 comma I2, the remaining right hand side will be I5. ఈ equations అర్థమైనయా? Take those equations. Okay. Now let us find out the confidence here. సో కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ వచ్చేసి ఏంటంటే సపోర్ట్ కౌంట్ ఆఫ్ ఏ ఆర్ బి. సి ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే ఏ యూనియన్ బి అని అంటే దిస్ ఇస్ నాట్ యువర్ సెట్ ఏ యూనియన్. దిస్ ఈస్ సంథింగ్ లైక్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు టేక్ ఏ అండ్ బి యూ హ్యావ్ టు టేక్. అంటే రెండు కలిపి కొన్న సపోర్ట్ కౌంట్. దిస్ ఇస్ యూనియన్. ఆర్ కాదు, రెండు కలిపి కొన్నవి ఏ యూనియన్ బి రెండు కలిపి కొన్నవి సపోర్ట్ కౌంట్. అంటే I1 I2 కంపల్సరీగా పక్క పక్కనే ఉండాలి. I1 I2 డివైడెడ్ బై సపోర్ట్ కౌంట్ ఆఫ్ ఏ. అంటే I1 I2 కలిపి టోటల్గా మీకు దాంట్లో అంటే అక్కడ దిస్ వేర్ ఇస్ దిస్ వన్, ఇక్కడ what is this A when you take this equation, when you relate that to here, A implies B అంటున్నారు కాబట్టి what is your A here?
I1 I2.
I1 ma'am.
yes A is your I1 I2 అంటే ఐటమ్ సెట్స్ ఇవన్నీ. క్యాపిటల్ A అన్నాను అంటే ఐటమ్ సెట్, క్యాపిటల్ B అన్నానంటే ఐటమ్ సెట్. సో A implies B అంటున్నాను అని అంటే I1 I2 implies B. వాట్ ఈస్ దిస్ సపోర్ట్ కౌంట్ A అండ్ B, A యూనియన్ B అన్నాను అని అంటే I1 I2 అండ్ I5 మూడు కలిపి మీకు ఇక్కడ ఎన్నిసార్లు ఉందో చూడండి. I1 I2 I5 కలిపి ఎన్నిసార్లు ఉంది ఇక్కడ మీ ట్రాన్సాక్షనల్ టేబుల్లో?
2 times, ma'am.
Two times. Okay, so that is what your this thing. And support count of A. So support count of A ఏంటి? మీకు ఇది I1 I2. I1 I2 ఎన్నిసార్లు వచ్చిందో చూడండి. జస్ట్ సపోర్ట్ కౌంట్ I1 I2 you can find out here. Yes,
4 times.
4 times. I1 I2 వచ్చేసి మీకు 4 times ఉంది. అంటే ఇక్కడ కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ వచ్చేసి ఏంటంటే 2/4 is equal to 50%. అంటే I1 I2 కొన్న ప్రతి ఒక్కళ్ళు I5 కూడా కొన్నారు అన్న కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ ఏంటి అని అంటే 50%. Now what is my second S? I1 I5 implies I2. ఇప్పుడు దీన్ని చూడండి, I1 I5 I2 అంటే of course this is again 2 times. ఇదే కాంబినేషన్, సేమ్ కాంబినేషన్ కాబట్టి యువర్ సపోర్ట్ ఈస్ 2 times. I1 I5 ఎన్నిసార్లు ఉంది? I1 I5 2 times, ఇక్కడ 2 times ఉంది. సో 2/2 where your confidence is equal to 1, which is 100%. And similarly I2 I5 I1, and similarly your I1 with I2 I5. ఇవన్నీ అర్థమైనయా? ఒకటి చెప్పాను కదా, అర్థమైనయా?
Yes ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
ఒకసారి వాటి రేపు చూడండి, అర్థమవుతుంది నోటేషన్. టేక్ డౌన్ దోస్. Now, if I say my confidence threshold is 70%, confidence threshold 70% ఉన్న ఇంప్లికేషన్సే కావాలి నాకు, ఉన్న అసోసియేషన్ రూల్సే కావాలి అని అంటే నాకు ఇందులో ఓన్లీ 3 వస్తాయి. I1 I5 I2, I2 I5 I1, I5 implies I1 I2. ఈ 3 అసోసియేషన్ రూల్స్నే కన్సిడర్ చేస్తాను. రిమైనింగ్ ఆల్ ఐఎమ్ గోయింగ్ టు డ్రాప్ బికాస్ ద థ్రెషోల్డ్ వాట్ ఐ టేక్ ఇస్ minimum I want 70% threshold. So only second, third and sixth last rules are the output. So what are the association rules ఏంటి అని అంటే I1 I5 తీసుకుంటే కంపల్సరీగా వాడు I2 తీసుకున్నాడు, I2 I5 తీసుకుంటే కంపల్సరీగా వాడు I1 తీసుకున్నాడు, I2 తీసుకున్న ప్రతి ఒక్కళ్ళు I1 అండ్ I5 తీసుకున్నారు, I5 తీసుకున్న ప్రతి ఒక్కళ్ళు I1 అండ్ I2 తీసుకున్నారు. సారీ, దిస్ ఇస్ నాట్ దేర్, ఇది లేదు. I2 తీసుకున్న ప్రతి ఒక్కళ్ళు I1 అండ్ I5, నో ఇట్ ఇస్ నాట్ దేర్. I5 తీసుకున్న ప్రతి ఒక్కళ్ళు దే హ్యావ్ పర్చేస్డ్ I1 I2. Yes, are you with me? Are you with me? Yes. So what is your Apriori algorithm is initially, just review this one. Initially, we have to know what is the a priori property. Your a priori property is nothing but all non-empty subsets of a frequent item set must also be frequent. That is your a priori property. And to find the frequent item sets, we are going for a priori algorithm. To find the frequent item sets, we are going for a priori algorithm. So the frequent item sets means we have to give what is the frequency initially. The input we have to give is the initially we have to give what is the frequency. Whether you want the frequency 2, 3, 4 or 5, that input we have to give. Now from them, the two data structures we will consider is the candidate generation table and the frequent item set table. The candidate item set table is nothing but you have to scan your transactional table each and every time when you have to find out your CK. CK దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళాలి అన్న ప్రతిసారి కూడా you have to scan that table. Why you have to scan that is because you will be joining LK minus 1 with itself. You have to identify that sets are there in the transaction table each and every time. And again, how you will be obtaining LK is you will be getting from CK. So what is your joining step is if you take two item sets in your frequent item sets, all but last two item sets should be in common, and the last two item sets or items of that two item sets, one should be less than the other. Then you will be getting the K item set in CK, where you will have all the common item sets as one and the last two items. So that is what your join step is. And the prune step is nothing but where you cut down the item sets which are not satisfying the minimum support. So with that, you have to repeat this. You have to go into iterations until you are not getting the CK. మీకు CK నెక్స్ట్ రానంత వరకు కూడా you have to keep on repeating this. Today, there is one more example at the exercises in the prescribed textbook or any other example from the net. Go through that. Tomorrow we will see the algorithm with all the notations. If you understand this example and the formula and the join step and the prune step, algorithm will be very easy, and a priori algorithm is for sure very, very important. Any queries? Questions or queries you have? Okay then. Girls, oh yeah, girls or boys, today 7 p.m. we will see the Python. Okay? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay then.